All right, let's just get right into it because this is a big one. If you've got decades of amazing experience under your belt, is your LinkedIn profile actually helping you? Or could it be secretly costing you your next big opportunity? Today, we're going to open up the playbook and figure it out.
First things first, let's just look at this number. 87%. That's the percentage of recruiters who are using LinkedIn right now. Look, it's not just some tool in their toolbox anymore, it's the main arena. It's the battlefield where they find talent. So if you're not playing the game right on this platform, you're pretty much invisible.
And this is where it gets tricky, because if you're a seasoned pro, the very platform you have to be on might actually be working against you. The way it's set up by default, and some of the most common mistakes people make, can accidentally highlight your age while burying your most valuable skills.
So we're not just going to stare at the problem. Nope. In this explainer, we're going to expose the 4 hidden traps that catch so many experienced professionals off guard. And then I'm going to give you a step-by-step 2-hour plan to totally transform your profile and finally get seen by the right people.
Okay, let's get into the tough stuff first. How exactly are you becoming invisible to the very recruiters you want to find you? Well, it really boils down to 4 main things. First up, timeline exposure. You know, on a resume, you get to curate it, right? You show the last 10, maybe 15 years. But LinkedIn, it wants your entire life story. All a recruiter has to do is scroll down to your education, see that graduation year, and boom, they can guess your age in about 5 seconds. It's like a built-in age filter you didn't even know you turned on.
Second, the algorithm itself is working against you. LinkedIn is a social network at its core, which means it rewards people who are active. So, if you set up your profile a few years ago and haven't really touched it since, you are systematically being shoved to the bottom of search results. The platform just assumes you're not really engaged, so it hides you, no matter how perfect your experience is.
Number 3, and oh my gosh, this one is huge. Headline waste. You see that little 220-character space right under your name? That is the most important piece of search engine real estate on your entire profile. Just putting your job title there, like Director of Operations, is a colossal waste. It tells people something they can see 2 lines down, and it does absolutely nothing to make you stand out in a search.
And finally, there's the content credibility gap. When a recruiter lands on your profile and sees nothing, no posts, no comments, 0 activity, what that can signal is that you're out of touch with your industry. Meanwhile, you've got younger pros sharing insights and articles, which makes them look way more current and engaged.
Okay, that was the bad news. Enough with the problems, let's pivot to the solution. The absolute key here is to stop thinking about LinkedIn as just an online resume and start treating it like a search engine. And rule number 1 of any search engine is knowing where to put your keywords so they have the biggest impact.
And you've got to understand this hierarchy. See, not all sections of your profile are created equal. Far from it. Your headline is king. It's number 1 with a bullet. Your about section is a very close second. Then comes your experience and your skills. Everything else is way down the list. So if you've only got 30 minutes to spare, you spend every single second on those top 2.
So how do you fix that headline? Simple. You use a formula. Start with your main value proposition, then add your industry, and end with something that makes you stand out, your key differentiator. So instead of Director of Operations, it becomes something like Data-Driven Operations Leader, Manufacturing and Supply Chain, turned 3 underperforming plants into top performers. Now that tells a recruiter exactly who you are and why they should care.
All right, next up, let's talk about how your resume and your LinkedIn profile should relate to each other. They should not be identical twins. Think of them more like siblings. They share the same DNA, you can tell they're related, but they have their own unique personalities. The goal is to align them, not just clone one from the other.
And this 70-30 split breaks it down perfectly. The 70% that absolutely must match are the core facts: your job titles, your dates, your key metrics. Any discrepancy there is a huge red flag. That's your credibility. The other 30%, that's where you let LinkedIn be LinkedIn. This is for your social proof, recommendations, endorsements, the stuff that brings your resume to life.
And I honestly cannot say this loudly enough, if a recruiter is looking at your resume and your LinkedIn side by side and the dates are off or the job titles don't match, you're probably done. It's the number 1 reason they give for just tossing an application. That 70% mirror isn't just a good idea, it is a non-negotiable rule if you want to be taken seriously.
All right, let's pull the curtain back even further. If you really want to win this game, you have to start thinking like a recruiter. How are they actually digging through this massive database to find a person just like you? They use what's called a boolean search. Now, it looks a little intimidating, but it's actually really simple. They're just stringing keywords together with words like and, or, and not to narrow down millions of profiles. And here's the kicker. If these exact words and phrases aren't in your profile, you will not show up in this search. Period. You have to speak their language.
So besides just having the right keywords, there are 3 super simple signals you can send to the algorithm to boost your rank. First, get that profile to all-star status. LinkedIn will walk you through it. Second, just do something active in the last 30 days. A comment, a share, anything. And third, turn on that open to work setting, but, and this is key, set it so only recruiters can see it. It's like putting up a quiet little flag just for them.
I know this can feel like a lot, but I promise you can make a huge dent in this in a very short amount of time. So let's break this whole thing down into a super manageable 2-hour project. Let's do this.
Hour 1 is all about building a rock-solid foundation. First, you're going to rewrite that headline and your About section using that formula we talked about. Maximize that space. Then, you're going to trim your experience section to just the last 10 or 15 years, the most relevant stuff. And then, the quick wins. Get rid of those graduation dates and make sure you've added all 50 possible skills.
Okay. Hour 2 is where we breathe life into this new profile. It's all about getting visible. You're going to ask a few old colleagues for recommendations. That's your social proof. You'll add some work samples to your featured section. That's your visual proof. And then, most importantly, you're going to start engaging. Just commenting on a few industry posts sends a massive signal to the algorithm that you're back in the game.
But we have to be really clear about one thing. All of this hard work on your LinkedIn profile is only ever going to be as strong as its foundation. And that foundation is your resume. Remember that 70% mirror we talked about? Your resume and LinkedIn have to tell the same core story. They're just optimized for different audiences. One's for a robot, the other's for a social network. And that's where making sure your resume is solid first is so important. Using a tool like PassTheScan can help you make sure that foundation is perfect before you start building your LinkedIn profile on top of it.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. You literally have the entire playbook right now to go from being overlooked to being in demand. The only thing left to do is to actually do it. So my question to you is, what is the one change, just one thing, you're going to do in your profile in the next 24 hours?